Welcome to the Write Your Own Story podcast. I'm your host, Betsy Leonidas, and the founder of the Write Your Own Story company. Girl, I can tell you right now, you are definitely enough. Here we value service, sisterhood, connection, laughter, and that super genuine, keep it real, tell you like it is honesty. My hope is at the end of each episode, you realize you can do whatever it is you dream about and that you are not alone with what you struggle with. I'm hoping that you are snapping and clapping and hell yes in your way through each one of these episodes. So if this tracks with you, let's get started. I'm so glad you're here. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the latest episode of the Write Your Own Story podcast. I'm thrilled to be here today with Edith B. Kiss, who is a holistic mentor. And really our objectives for today are all around offering hope and practical tools for women who are navigating anxiety, panic attacks, and depression. I'm so glad we're talking about this subject today, or this umbrella of subjects, because I think a lot of women are very afraid to say out loud that they are suffering. I think anxiety is a little bit more mainstream, but when it comes to depression and panic attacks, I definitely think there's still a little bit of a stigma around it, but I know there are a lot of women out there suffering. So thank you so much for the work that you do, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Betsy, for having me.
Absolutely. Would you mind kicking us off and just kind of telling us how your journey to here is kind of interesting? So I would love for you to be able to tell our listeners, how did you end up here?
Yes. So at the beginning, I was like a university student and was just traveling around when I experienced my first panic attack. And then I didn't even know what was happening to me. I went to a doctor. They gave me a tranquilizer. I even freaked out from it more. So when I get back to my home country, I was actually looking for some natural remedies, like nothing freaking. And then basically that's why I got introduced to Reiki healing, because my mom knew someone who knew someone. So basically I get to some Reiki master, and then she started to heal me, and then I felt better and better, after the sessions. And I realized that this is a good thing to manage it. So I wanted to learn it. I got into level 1, level 2 within a couple of years. And I also experienced and learned the family constellation therapy from the same master, which was really powerful for relationship issues and other self-development, transformational issues or patterns in our life. So that was the second biggest thing I experienced in this spiritual healing journey. And also I learned more about extra sense, like how we use our sixth sense, for different situations. So that was like a hobby and a sanctuary in my life besides being an engineer. So I was an engineer for 15 years, a petroleum engineer. And then while I was having kids and family life and then the 9-to-5 job, this spiritual healing and these practices were my sanctuary basically. And then the weekends or whenever I had time, I went to these tools and then practices. But later I learned about this, that these were just managing it, which means it never stopped. It was always came back to me, like a panic attack always returned, or the anxiety or stress, or I just went there again for another scoop of, healing. But it was always, and then I saw this is normal, when we don't know more, we think that what is, Yeah. And then I also had a great experience after I became a Reiki master. Like many years later, I was using the tools on me, and then because it's like an expanded energy healing basically, so I was using those energies on me for about like 6 months, and then it's changed my frequency and it changed my diet. So I actually stopped eating certain food groups because it did not match my frequency of my body. So it felt like a mind programming, or I don't know how can I explain this, because it was like an overnight shift. So basically I dropped certain groups of food, and then I started to lose weight because I was overweight at that time after 2 kids and sitting job. So I didn't feel good about myself. I couldn't love myself being overweight. And when I started to lose a lot of weight, I lost like 20 kilos in 10 months. And this was really empowering for me. I felt really like opening up more and feeling great about myself. And it was the same time when I shifted from 9-to-5 to actually contracting position, again, having more space, more time for myself at the same time. And that was when I got introduced to karma yoga healing. I wasn't searching anymore because I thought, oh my God, I'm already so successful with this Reiki healing because I already lost 20 kilos and then I'm managing my stuff and I'm in a good space. So I wasn't searching, but this just happened to find me. And I was flabbergasted. I was like, wow, these mindfulness teachings, this yogi techniques, the meditations, the breathing, and all of this was like really amazing. And that was started to heal more things in me with the source memory healing and with the meditation. So that was stopped my panic attacks. And finally, I realized that it's not just about managing, but actually I can stop it or heal it and finally say goodbye to the struggles. So that
Amazing.
was which the turning point to say, I want to help others with this.
Wow, that is a wild story. I kind of want to start with really explaining to people what a panic attack feels like. I know people can really get overwhelmed with anxiety and they can imagine what that feels like. They feel like they're being chased by a bear, even though they're just trying to find all of the shin guards and soccer shoes for, the practice that's starting in 30 minutes and you live 35 minutes away. Like that, I think we can all relate to that. And when we think of depression, it can feel that deep sadness or that deep exhaustion. But I have suffered from panic attacks. I thankfully have healed them. It's interesting. I had them in my 20s and like mine was triggered based on a life event. I lost my aunt in a very tragic way and she was very important to me. And so it just all of a sudden for me, I would be sitting in the corporate boardroom in my second job in New York. And all of a sudden, I would feel like my throat was closing. And then my mind would just take off running. And I would be like, oh my God, I'm literally going to die right here in front of everyone in this room. And you feel dizzy, but not in the traditional dizzy sense. It's almost like your whole body is swirling. You are over flooded with every type of sensory feeling, but yet you can't connect to your actual senses. And like the interesting thing is it would just make me want to run and hide. I would leave the meeting and just go sit in the bathroom where I'm like, if I really was choking or my throat was closing, I should ask someone for help. But I was so deeply embarrassed that I was having these out of control feelings that I would go hide. And similar to you, I went to the doctor. They gave me Klonopin, which is like a tranquilizer type drug that goes under your tongue that if you do start to get these massive out of control feelings. And to be honest, carrying that around in my pocket was almost like a band-aid to the solution because I knew that I had something to help me. But to your point, I had some serious healing to do. I just wanted to share that to explain like, what does a panic attack really feel like? And that might just very well be my version. Like my dad had one recently for the first time in his life where he had a dream that he was having a stroke. He had just gotten back from a trip to Colorado. So it was altitude sick, all the things, just like certainly overdid it. He is 80 and adorable. And he woke up from his dream and then started thinking he was having a stroke and couldn't snap out of it. And that was the first time he had ever experienced that in his life. I don't know. Am I missing anything for helping people really identify what a panic attack is versus anxiety or depression?
Yeah. So panic attacks is when you really feel like you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Like you have
Like
that
you are
feeling.
100% convinced you're going to die. Yeah.
Yeah, if I don't call for help or like
Mm-hmm.
that. I called ER several times because of that. I thought
Yes.
I'm
Uh-huh.
having a heart attack or I'm fainting and gonna be unconscious and this kind of thing. So that's the real panic attack. And how you actually tackle that how can you help with that is one thing is like, because it's in your mind. It's actually is in your
Mm-hmm.
mind. Nothing is jeopardizing you. You're not gonna die. Is in your mind. And then you said it right. It was in the bandage in your bag. You knew that something is there to help you. So it didn't even come, right? Because you
Yeah.
didn't even get to the point to experience it. And then the other thing is like, why is it actually happening? Is because we are lacking certain minerals. We are lacking some vitamins from our body. We didn't sleep well. We also, for example, not eating enough. So I realized that when I have clients with panic attacks, I ask them about their daily routines or their diets. It's really obvious that they're missing a lot of these things. So just, for example, quitting caffeine, start eating, getting more iron, magnesium, and vitamin B, and also make sure that they sleep enough. That's enough to stop it. It's most
Wow.
of the time, if you think about it, when it happens, it's because you are exhausted, you are missing something, and that's when it's happening. Like maybe you overwork, you're working too much, you
Yes.
stress yourself, you
Yes.
don't sleep enough, or you're missing some of your nutrients and then some of your vitamins, which is really, so like, for example, vegans, vegetarians, sometimes they are not enough precise about what they eat or how much vitamins, minerals they get. And I
Yeah.
got clients who were vegetarian, when they come to me, and then I told them to start taking iron and magnesium, because it's one of the things which is like amplifying the anxiety and creating panic attacks if they are lacking from that. So that's the first steps I would recommend to everybody, to start taking iron, magnesium, vitamin B, sleep the 7-8 hours what they need, and then see what happens, because they're gonna feel much more in peace, much more aligned, much more happier, and it's just gonna disappear the panic attacks from their life. And the caffeine, of course, like because that's also increasing the flight and fly mode.
Yes, definitely, which is a really hard one to give up. But I mean, I think about all the women who I have had sort of private conversations with about panic attacks, because there is some sort of stigma around, which I hope we are just neutralizing as we continue to talk about it out loud, for people to hear that it is really like, it's more common, unfortunately, than we think. But to just be able to list magnesium, B12, iron, get some sleep, like either cut caffeine or really think about how you consume caffeine, just to get into like the brass tacks, because I know some people are like literally pressing pause right now. Is this like a vitamin B? Is this like a B12? Is there like, how specific do we need to get on vitamin B and magnesium? Because I know magnesium comes in a lot of forms as well.
So in vitamin B, I recommend B6 mostly.
Okay,
For
great.
this. For panic attacks, B6 is the one of the, which is more like the neurological things, but also B12 and B1. So they sell it as vitamin B complex. So if you take
Okay.
vitamin B complex, great. If someone is really severe, then there is even like high dose of vitamin B6. So you can start taking like 20 milligrams a day for a week, to just make sure you are getting to the best, conditions quickly.
Yeah.
But then I don't recommend the 20 milligrams for long term,
Oh,
but like just for a week. It's a very funny story. Once I was traveling to another country, and then I was like, oh, I need to get some vitamin B6. So I went into a store, and then I just grabbed the bottle. I didn't check the milligrams, nothing. And it was like I don't know what kind of store was this, but it was like a huge overdose, like 60 milligrams.
oh
And
gosh.
I took the vitamin B6, 60 milligrams. I had to laugh all afternoon. I was laughing all afternoon, literally. It was so funny. And then I gave it to my niece as well. And then we were just laughing and having fun the whole afternoon because of that high level vitamin B6. But it's not good for a long term, because it can actually turn back and make you actually depressed if you take it on a long term, this high dose. So be careful with that.
That's a great watch out. That is really funny. I can just picture you giggling all over town. That's incredible. Okay, then what about specifically for magnesium? Because I know that comes in a bunch of different forms.
Magnesium, I don't. Magnesium is, I don't think it's that important. Iron is more important. Magnesium is
Interesting.
great with, also for your body, for your, for exercising and all of those things. So is great. And then I know they have different types, but I didn't dive into that too deep. But I know that iron is really important, especially for women. We need to consume 16 milligrams iron a day. And if you think
Wow.
about that, one egg is only 2 milligrams, and then you eat, let's say for breakfast, 2 eggs, that's only 4 milligrams. Then you get your steak, it's another 4-6 milligrams. So you hardly get 10 milligrams. If you're always pushing meat, and then you get maybe 10 milligrams a day, you're still missing 6. So even with a great meat eater, might is missing some milligrams of iron a day. And then when we have the period, is like, it's a different story. So we're supposed to
Absolutely.
take iron 60 milligrams a day, and to feel actually healthy.
Wow, that's incredible. Do you have any supplement recommendations while we're on the supplement train, for those who are suffering from anxiety?
Yeah, for iron, I realized very early when I was pregnant that I can't take iron pills. It's really bothering my stomach. It's like a
Sure, I've
huge
heard that.
pain.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, so basically I went for the liquid kind, and then there is a brand called Floradix, and then they have like gluten-free and even yeast-free uh, type, the iron, liquid iron, and it's really great. So it's not doing bloating, it's not doing anything. It's just tastes like you drinking a little juice. It's really
Hmm.
great taste and great. Very practical. Even my daughter is taking it. She's a teenager, so it's really healthy and good. Yeah.
That's incredible. Okay, so that helps anxiety. And then what about depression?
So depression is really requires lifestyle changes,
Mm,
even more than panic attacks. So depression is happening to you if you are in an environment which is toxic, either your relationship, either your work, either something is wrong in the whole concept where you are. And then you can only kind of get out of depression if you change that environment, either leaving the job, either the relationship, or you really, because it's really hard to come out of it alone. So if you go through, I had clients who came to me with depression, and we started to work on it, with the healings, and childhood traumas came up to heal, and past life traumas, and so on and so forth. So we will going through the healing journey, and they felt more and more happier, and then more empowered and enjoyed the life more and more. But they still made the decision to leave that job, because you have always two choices. One choice is you stay with it and then you change your perspective about it, or you leave
yes.
it. So
Yeah.
she could go back and say that actually I don't care how they treat me, but why would I put me myself in a position where people don't respect me, they trick me, they betray me all the time. So basically, just going through the healing is also empower you to leave that space, to say goodbye to situations which is hurting you. And as I said, it can be, relationship, family, anything. Sometimes it's your own parents who keep you depressed,
Yeah.
or sometimes it's your partner. So you really need to look through, like, what is depressing me, and then you need to distance from that. If it's a work, take a vacation first, see how it feels, and yeah, then make more things which is brings you joy. I know when someone is depressed, it's really difficult to find joy. Also, what I would recommend, I have a samadhi meditation on my YouTube channel. That is a meditation playlist. And when someone is practicing samadhi, is allowing you to produce the necessary hormones on an extra boost, because you transcend and then you activate the pineal gland. So basically, producing those hormones is help you to actually feel better, because of the serotonin, the melatonin, the growth hormone, and the oxytocin. So just practicing the meditation is start pulling you out of the rabbit hole and thinking more positively, and more easier to actually start the gratitude, the daily gratitude, counting your blessings. That's really important for getting you out of the depression.
Absolutely. And that is, gratitude feels like such an easy concept, but it is a muscle that you have to build over time. Even like I have more anxiety than depression. I tend to be born pretty sunny side up. But that's not, I mean, like I said, I've struggled with panic attacks. It doesn't mean I'm anything special, but I do, even for someone who doesn't feel a lot of sadness regularly, I think that gratitude is something I find when I'm not so disciplined about looking for gratitude every day, and actually even journaling about it really helps me. But my anxiety and my sadness creeps back. It is like it's like going to the gym. You have to use the muscle time and time again.
Mm. If it's a pattern, if it really comes back, then it really needs a deeper healing, because then it's for
Yeah.
sure there was a core trauma which is getting triggered all the time and creating this reaction of your feeling the depressed or sad, because that needs to be released, that needs to be healed. Until it released completely, the trigger will continue to come to you.
Okay, so speaking about healing the triggers, tell me more about Reiki. For those who have never experienced it, can you just kind of describe what it is and what the process is like?
So I just want to compare the two things, like
Sure.
Reiki, and this is the energy healing, and the source memory healing, which is the karma yoga healing, is more like going deep into the unconscious mind and healing the core traumas. So with Reiki, I look at Reiki as a quick fix. It's an energy healing, but it's like you're going back for it, always when you feel drained, or when you feel a bit off, or maybe you have a sickness or something, then you go back for a Reiki healing, because it's like fill you up, it's put you back into the good space, because it's basically balancing the chakras, raising your vibration to the vibration of the universe, so you actually in a healing energy, but just for temporarily, for like 48 hours, right? Then you need
Okay.
another session, then you need another session. So the trigger is not going to stop. Reiki not going to fix
Yeah.
that. Reiki is just like a pill kind of thing, but on a better
Yeah,
way, like a
totally.
natural way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the source memory healing is the one which is from karma yoga healing, from the Adi Yogi Shiva techniques, which is actually going into the core traumas and then heal those from from the unconscious mind, release those negative emotions from those memories, and then the triggers will stop. That's how it comes into a full circle. And this why is it so amazing, this healing, is because you can apply it for anything which is triggering you. It can be a noisy neighbor, it can be your mental health issues, it can be a physical pain, it can be a relationship. If you feel negative emotions because something triggering you, then that could be a starting point of your healing. And then we can call upon the unconscious mind, your unconscious mind, basically in a transcendental state, to show you the memories which needs to be healed, so these triggers are stopping.
Wow.
And the healing,
Yeah.
how it works, we activate the eighth chakra. What happens when we activate the eighth chakra? We open up the karma vortex. So how the healing comes to you, it can be from many directions, because as soon as we finish the healing, we rewrite the past in the Akashic records. So you stepping into a new future path. But how the solution comes to you, it can come that, for example, you get an idea to do something differently, or you meet someone comes into your life who can help you. Maybe a doctor, is this doctor is different than the others and treat you differently, or you can have someone else who's coming in and suddenly give you a news about something, or you read something. So within hours or days of the session, you will see that solution coming into you.
Wow, that's incredible. Almost, I know this is more chakra based and energy based, but I also find EMDR very interesting, where, my rudimentary explanation of EMDR for those listening is that like it is rapid eye movement or sensory, like within your hands. And what it does is it takes a memory that is traumatizing, that kind of gets like stuck on a loop in one part of your brain, and you can't release yourself from it, both the thoughts, the energy, the triggers, the physical sensations, everything. And within the rapid eye movement process, you do a lot of like talk therapy through it while you're also like following the sensors, and it moves that memory to a different part of your brain where it is stored peacefully, and it no longer has that like physical or emotional chokehold on you. I've done it several times and it is life changing, but I love the idea of just kind of like, as you mentioned, opening up the vortex of your mind, just to be like, there's an alternate solution. There's a new way to think about this, or there's a new modality of healing that you were so blocked, I guess, for lack of a better word, that like you couldn't access it. Is that correct?
Yeah, so this is actually one of the oldest modality on earth, but it was kind of like, hidden, or I don't know, it wasn't just spread it, the way. So why is it
Yes.
powerful to hear those memories? So the difference is, what I can say is that, first of all, it's not like a speaking therapy. I don't even need to know your memories. And then you most likely consciously, you don't even know which memories are related to your current issue. You have no idea why you get triggered by certain situations right now. It could happen to you, maybe something when you were 6 years old, 3 years old, 12 years old, or all on this line. So sometimes that's why it's not a speaking therapy, because we connect with the unconscious in a meditative state, and then the unconscious brings you the memory. So you see the memory, but you see it like a movie. You can, of course, see yourself there, what's happening. I'm asking like, okay, tune into your emotions. You can still tune into and remember the emotions, and you can tell me like, okay, yeah, it made me sad, angry, blah, blah, blah. And then there is a process how I release that from your multidimensional existence and replace it with positive emotions in this process. But the thing is that I don't even need to know what happened to you there or which memory you see. I have clients who went through sexual abuse or rapes, other terrible situations, and then they don't even tell me what's happening there. They just say, okay, I am in, and they start telling me the list of the negative emotions. And then I take the list and then I release that for them. So basically, it's really great for people who don't trust others, too much, or they don't want to share what's going on in their life with a stranger, a complete stranger. And then, it's not that drastic, it's not that painful, it's more like watching a movie. So sometimes, of course, they cry, or they felt emotionally hurt, but it's not that drastic. It's very gentle. It's a very gentle tool. That's why I love it.
That sounds incredible. Okay. And then is it similar or different to Reiki in the fact that like Reiki, you kind of, as you were mentioning, like you have to kind of go back in for tune-ups, it lasts like 48 hours, it energetically cleanses you, but then, you need to come back in. Is this more of like long-term
It's one,
effect?
yeah, it's one session for one particular situation most of the time. So let's say your situation is you are having a fight or a bad relationship with your brother recently,
Hmm.
and then you used to be in a good terms, but now it's like getting worse, and then it's bothering you, blah blah blah, and then so I'm starting the session with that, and then we're going into most likely childhood memories with the brother, and then we're releasing that, and then basically at the end it's done, which means that it's will resolved by in the next couple of hours, days, weeks with the relationship. What is also happening that because this source memory healing and the karma vortex and the multidimensional cleansing, what happens is that we heal the whole soul family. So it's not just you who's going to experience change or transformation, but your family members as well. It's a ripple effect towards them. I heard it so many times that clients came to me and then, for example, with the situation that they feel lost or unhappy in their jobs. And then they also said that, but I don't like how my father is treating my mother, blah, blah, blah. And then after a couple of weeks of having the healing sessions, she was coming back to me and said, oh, my father started to be different. He changed. He's speaking differently to my mom. And so it's happening, like it's kind of like, and then that's why I love it, that when people start their own personal healing with these tools, they actually healing the whole soul family.
God, that's incredible. And then, when we think about generational cycles and like not passing your trauma down from generation to generation, and it's like, I think everyone does their best to work with what they've got and to be, do the best they can. But to be able to actually like cleanse that and, think about that doesn't pass down to your kids, or the dynamics of your family or your relationship or your job could actually improve is incredible. Are you able to practice this with people virtually?
Yes, absolutely. Since COVID, since
Yeah.
the COVID, like before that, I went to people's homes in London, so I was actually visiting them in their homes to do the sessions. But then after COVID, like everything has to go online. And then, of course, at the beginning, everybody was skeptical that is it possible to do distance, this and that. And then, of course, it all works in distance, even the Reiki healing or energy healing and all of these practices. So yes, everybody who comes to me I'm mostly working from my home office and online. I actually opened recently a therapy room in central London, so I also can have face-to-face sessions in London if someone is interested. But basically, I mostly work from home and online with all around the world.
It's so incredible. I've heard that before when it comes to energetic healing. Or what's another example? Oh, I had a friend when she bought her new house, she just was like, I just want this energetically cleared. And so she had someone that did it virtually for her. She was in New York and she had someone, I think the woman was in Boston. And so then when I got divorced, I actually was like, hey man, why not? And so I used her as well. And it was really like, it was super interesting to kind of feel the energetic change within the house. And just to like get her download report of just kind of like all the past experiences in the house and the land and everything. I don't know. It was incredibly fascinating, but just another point that this kind of energetic healing definitely doesn't have to be an energy, physical space, like face-to-face energetic exchange for it to heal.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing that I'm curious about, what is sort of the connection between mind and body and energy and emotions? Like it kind of feels like the melting pot of like these are all connected. And so I'm just, we talk a lot about in our culture like the brain chemistry, but then brain chemistry to me feels different than energetic sort of,
Mhm.
like your energy. So I don't know. I'm just curious how all these factors work together.
So if you understand the chakras, there is this chakra system. These are energy centers in our body, and it's extremely interesting that they are perfectly aligned with our gland system. So when they position themselves, there are where our glands are, and the glands is which producing the chemicals, the hormones in our body. So when you actually, and then when you actually experiencing negative emotions, there are so many post on social media when they say that, oh, you can sit with your pain or it's okay to experience negative emotions. I am pretty much against it. I always
Ooh.
tell to my clients to, if you don't know how to go deeper and heal it from the root, don't stay there, because what's happening to you when you stay in negative emotions, you start blocking the energy centers, because you're lowering your frequency. When you're lowering your frequency, you are experiencing this anger, depression, whatever, like negative vibrational emotions, basically lower vibrational emotions. Then basically you start blocking the chakras. So it's what's happening is the life energy, the life force energy won't able to flow through them. And because your chakras are unbalanced, you start creating illnesses around them. So if you have, for example, guilt, shame, grief, sorrow, loneliness, that's affecting your heart chakra and is creating, after a while, heart disease, breast cancer, lung disease, all of this shit, And the same thing is about thyroid. Many women is suffering from thyroid issues and they taking pills for a lifetime because they were unable to speak up. They were always holding back their voice, and they're not addressing their needs, their wants, because they want to keep peace or whatever it is. Or basically they were talked off. I had a client recently, she experienced several illnesses in her throat, thyroid and another, because we went back to her childhood traumas. She was always beaten up when she wanted to speak up all the time. So that memories had to be healed now, and then to be able to fix these issues, physical health issues eventually. So that's why I'm saying, like, don't sit in the negative emotions because it's blocking your chakras. That's why people goes to Reiki, because the Reiki helps with this actually. So if you get triggered and you feel negative emotions and you go to Reiki, basically it's balancing back your chakras. But if 2 days later you got pissed off again, you're gonna block your chakras again. So you need to go back to the Reiki again to clear it. So that's why that's how it's connected. The glands, the hormones, the chakras, the energy centers with the emotions is really aligned, is really connected. So I always tell to people that when you feel negative emotions, then get out of there. Don't stay there. Do something to be happy again. I don't know, dance, listen to some music, be with someone who you love and just cheer yourself up. Don't sit in the pain unless you know how to heal it from the root.
That's incredible. Can we run through the chakras? Can we run through them?
Yeah, let's start from the bottom. So the root chakra is obviously about your roots, ancestors, parents, grandparents, and also your stability. So your root chakra can be blocked if you have negative emotions around your parents, which has many people actually have, issues with their parents, grandparents. So that's one thing which you need to heal, basically. And the other one is security.
And where do you feel the root chakra in your body?
Your root chakra is the bottom of your trunk. So any illnesses around that area and even the legs. So if you have any issues with your legs, is already a sign that you have root chakra blockages. So, or issues with stability, security, or the parents' connections, And then when you go to sacral chakra is the lower belly, with the womb, where is the womb for women or intestines, So sacral chakra represents romantic relationships and success and passion. So basically, if you have a bad romantic relationship and you are having negative emotions around it, basically, then you blocking even your success because it's blocking your passion and success. So you are less successful when you are in a torturing, relationship. So how do you know if it's like already manifested into physical illness? You have issues in your womb, you have issues with getting pregnant, you have intestines issues, digestive issues, kidneys is also in the same area. So that's a big sign that it's maybe you having now the perfect relationship, but maybe you had many relationships which were not good, and still those memories are already manifested into that illness, And then you go up to the solar plexus. The solar plexus is by the stomach. So this is really very common that women, or also men, but mostly women, having like stomach issues, also digesting issues or stomach issues, and then also going to the liver or spine. Is because of anxiety of not being good enough, self-esteem, worthiness is about the solar plexus. This is actually the easiest to heal. You don't even need to sometimes go go into deep healing, sometimes it's enough just some very powerful affirmations about yourself, like looking into the mirror and say that you are awesome, you are the best, you get this, like to get that custom that every morning you actually tell about yourself amazing things. That if you get into that practice and you still and be believing it, then it's really good for your solar plexus healing. So yeah, that's the stomach, the spine, and it's also the diabetes, is connected with this, or liver. So basically the drinking, if someone is alcoholic, it's a solar plexus issue as well. Self-esteem, they want to feel more confident. That's why they're drinking most of the time, or yeah. So the next one is the heart. We talked about the heart chakra already. So it's the loneliness, the grief, the abandonment by parents, the sorrow, also the guilt and shame. That's the heart chakra. That's, when it was the COVID time, the heart chakra was blocked for so many people. That's why they get heart attacks and lung issues, with the COVID, because we were locked down. So we were lonely. We were, left alone. We had so much sorrow because everybody was talking about this misery in the news and everywhere. So everybody was sorry about everybody. And then we had the grief because we're losing people and all of these things. So that was really hitting the heart chakra in so many people, and it caused them all the lungs and heart issues. And we talked about the throat, about the speaking up for themselves, the thyroid issues. And then the throat is also coming up to the cheeks and nose. So if you have sinus issues, is also to the throat and also the jaw. So if you have teeth, jaws issues, is also going together with the throat chakra, basically. And then when you get to the third eye is about your trust. And then basically, if you have blocked third eye, then you are worried about the future. You also have fear of the future. And then when it's cleaned, then you trust the divine, you trust the inspirational thoughts you're getting, your ideas, you are more visionary, more inspired. So that is very good. When you start opening your third eye, is basically you get more empowered, more visionary, more seeing your path, having good ideas. That's what is happening to my clients after a couple of weeks practicing this meditation, for example, to suddenly having great ideas, started to move forward, and not feeling stuck because they don't worry anymore. And with that, physical pain can be obviously headaches or issues with eyes or issues with ear. So the ear is also connected with that. When you experiencing very powerful awakenings, spiritual awakenings, you can have vertigo in your ears, basically like very big dizziness,
Yeah, sure.
because it's connected with the pineal gland and the third eye, the ear as well. So if someone is going through some awakening journey, spiritual awakening, or going into some retreats and suddenly feel vertigo and this kind of, or some dizziness, some fogginess in the eye, it could be the activation, and it could be just, temporary. So don't freak out.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's incredible.
And then the final one is the crown chakra. So the crown chakra is about being open-minded. Is if you have like a nice open crown chakra, you are open-minded for informations, to new knowledge, to all kinds of different solutions, help, to yourself. And if you have a closed crown chakra, you are very stubborn. You are very unflexible and afraid of change, afraid of trying out new things. And if you are a very religious person and then you're only thinking about like one religion, then your crown chakras tend to be more closed.
Interesting.
And if you are spiritual, it's like more open, obviously. And what physical illness is like, basically headaches, migraine can be part of it if you have blocked crown chakra.
Incredible. Okay. So then if someone is listening to this and they're like, I have a blocked chakra, like, what is sort of the next step that they need to take? Like, if I've been like, I thought I was having a heart attack the other week. But then I was like, well, this has lasted like 7 days and I'm not dead yet. So I feel like probably not a heart attack. I have 4 kids. I was like, I can't really figure out how to fit in a trip to the doctor. Anyway, turns out that I just had like I was having horrible acid reflux, and I'm like, ooh, what chakra is broken? And how do I, How do I go
That's
back
your
and
stomach.
balance that?
That's your
Ah.
solar plexus. That's your worthiness and self-esteem.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's something I think all of us can forever work on. So then if I want to heal my self-esteem, I get to do my powerful affirmations in the mirror.
Yeah.
What else?
Surround yourself with people who loves you and cheer you up, and like sing that you are the goddess. And then also yellow, the color yellow. The colors are really important. So every chakra has its specific color. And if you actually use that color in around you, or clothes, even food, if you eat fruits, vegetables, which raw fruits, raw vegetables, which is that color, that helps
Yeah.
chakra cleansing. And the colors around you or wearing clothes like that is actually helping to clear the chakra. So yellow, wear some yellow colors, or surround yourself with yellow pillows, or eat lemon or oranges. No, oranges is sacral chakra. So
Banana, maybe?
yeah, banana or yeah, yellow things. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's very cool. It's so funny you say that. I wore this like blush pink top today and I was in a little bit of a rush, but I have like a section of yellow shirts and like I haven't looked at them in forever and I was so drawn to them today, but this one was easier to put on in style. So I was like, here we go. But okay, now don't mind me, everyone, when you see me walking around in all yellow. I do really love that color. It is such a sunshine color. Thank you for that advice. I'm really excited to give that a whirl because this is not a great feeling in here. And it's so hard, as you know, to attach or to slow down enough to recognize and to sit and to sink into what your actual physical symptoms are telling you. It's really, I mean, but over the practice of the last 4 years, have gotten pretty in tune with my body. But like, I also leave my body the second I'm stressed because I'm like, I just got to get stuff done. And to be able to create that space to sit and be quiet and connect and breathe into it and like really ask myself and my body, like, what's wrong? What do you need? That takes a lot of time and space for me. And, to kind of train your mind to quiet again. So for people who feel like they don't have the capacity to like sit and really like breathe into those places of pain or discomfort and really sit and think and listen with your third eye of what that needs, like, do you suggest meditation? Like, what kind of small practices can people do where they can tune in a little bit?
There is a saying. They say, like, if you don't have 20 minutes to meditate, then you have to start meditating.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you need to take that 20 minutes to actually start meditating. And my favorite meditation is the Samadhi meditation, this Adi Yogi Shiva technique, because it includes chakra cleansing, it
Hmm.
includes activating eighth chakra, it includes activating pineal gland, start producing those necessary hormones, getting into transcendental state, actually bringing yourself up to the vibration of the universe. So the self-healing starts already. So to get there to that point to transcend is 15 minutes, but then you can stay in that vibration for as long as you want, even 2 hours or whole night if you do the meditation in the evening. And I highly recommend that, because then you are in a healing energies yourself. You created that to connect with the supreme pure consciousness. So that meditation is really powerful, and it's free on my YouTube channel. It's called Magical Karma Priestess.
Amazing. Will you email me the link to that so that I can include it in the show notes of this show so people can find your YouTube channel and find that specifically? I love the idea of if you don't have 20 minutes, it's time to start meditating. My time, I usually carve it out in the morning, but some people just aren't morning people. I turn into a toddler at night. So like, I am so tired. I fall asleep in each kid's bed. So I feel like I'm more open to it in the morning, but to your point, just find your time. I interviewed a woman who loved to meditate in the middle of the day. It's just kind of like a cleanse and a reset, which I thought that was really interesting. Where so many of us might just scroll to give our mind a break. It's like, what if you sat on your back patio with your headphones in and did a meditation?
Yeah, I had clients who actually did their daily meditations at lunchtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's incredible. Okay. We are getting close to the top of our hour. I love one of the common themes that I have found in all the incredible women that I've gotten to interview is this moment of pivot in their life. Some people create their own pivots and some people handle their pivots. And, I think about you as the student and the engineer who was suffering from panic attacks, trying to travel the world And it, kind of hitting that point really forced you to pivot. And then it turned, and then what a beautiful journey to put you down this entire trajectory of now not only healing yourself, but healing others. I find that most of the women that I interview on this show, it's just another really cool commonality is that the work they are doing that they feel so called to do and so content doing is, something that they've experienced before, and now that they feel they want to turn around and help somebody else. So I think that is incredible. So thank you so much for the work that you do. I'm sure that you speak to a lot of women. We've talked about supplements. We've talked about meditation. We've talked about different healing modalities. Are there any other messages for the women listening, based on the work that you do that you'd love to pass along?
Yes, I think mindfulness is really underestimated, how powerful it is as a practice and what it really means. Because some people, when they think about mindfulness, they just think about, sitting down, listening to your surroundings, your environment, or having an awareness about certain things, your sensations or your emotions. But mindfulness is really when you put it into action the way like knowing the consequences of your actions and knowing that shifting your thinking into positive thoughts. Like mindfulness is when you can control your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions, but you need to get there, obviously. So how is it like, okay, when you have why we are suffering so much? Because we have negative assumptions, and with the negative assumptions, negative thinking, we start to feel negative. Like panic attacks, like you have a negative assumptions that, oh, I'm gonna die, and then you have negative emotions, comes the fear, and then you call the ER, right? What if your assumption is like, come on, I am only 50, I am healthy, I'm not gonna die, this is nothing. It probably is just something happening there, like the reflux or whatever.
Yeah.
So if you have the information, if you're already knowledgeable, then it's easier, obviously, to be coming up with better ideas. But what I'm saying is like being mindful means like shifting into positive thoughts instead of negative, and then you obviously start to have positive emotions. Like if you say to yourself, oh, come on, it's nothing and I'm fine, then you have positive emotions like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm going on my, and then you take also different actions, because you're not going to call the ER, but you maybe mixing your lunch or breakfast or whatever. So it's they are together. So to have mindfulness is controlling your thoughts and controlling your emotions and actions. And this also very important with we haven't talked about it, but like karma, like karmic cycles. When you have certain patterns in your life, you're going through karmic cycles. This karma can be your karmas or ancestral karma. But when they coming to you, you always have a decision to actually what to decide on, like what action to take in that situation when you get into a challenge, right? And then what decisions you make to understand the consequences of your decision is also a part of mindfulness. So through mindfulness, you can actually stop karmic cycles.
Can you give an example of a karmic cycle that someone might experience?
Oh, I had a client who, but in this case, we didn't really knew if it was a karma, but most likely it was a karma. So she went through a raping pattern. So she came to me because she was raped when she was a teenager, and then she got raped 2 more times. And then the first time, obviously, it was the first trauma, which is also we could say that because of the traumatic experience wasn't healed, then she actually attracted two more similar situations. But if it was a karmic pattern because maybe she done the same thing to someone in a past life, or it was an ancestral karma because maybe their ancestor was doing similar to that, then she got into this pattern. But she told me eventually that she could be more mindful and understood that she shouldn't have gone to those places, or she shouldn't have drink with that person, or she shouldn't have allowed that person to be alone with her drink, and put in something. So there was always certain points when she could have a more mindful thinking, like a more listening to her senses or listening to her like sanity, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And then
truly.
decide like, oh, I'm actually not going out with this guy, or I'm not actually trusting this person, or something to make a decision. So being more conscious about your decisions, you can stop the cycle. But she actually went with it for another 2 times, And then after that we did with the healing sessions basically, and then she is now feeling much better, much more empowered, not scared when she's going to the street, because she
Yeah.
used to have all of those fears too when she was looking at some people like, oh, they look like my, my person who was betraying me and stuff like that. So it was a very, yeah, she was depressed, and scared, very scared and stuff like before the sessions.
Situations like that, I mean, obviously that's an extreme case and my heart breaks for her. But you lose the connection to trusting yourself when you aren't getting your sort of karmic assignments quite right. And these patterns keep repeating. And then it kind of like it can take you to a place of like paranoia versus, and then you like kind of, or anxiety, and then you sort of overcompensate versus, like you were saying, be able to connect to your common sense, your intuition, and make those choices from a much more grounded place. When someone feels like they've lost touch with trusting themselves or their ability to make good decisions in certain spaces, let's say I coach women in business, when people are like, I just cannot figure out, I keep making these decisions and it's not working out. How do you really reconnect with that sensibility and that trust and those answers that truly are just within you?
Yeah, the trust is connected also with the guilt and shame. So I think they have a really deep guilt what they're carrying with themselves because of the failures. So it needs to be healed. So that's kind of something which is, I think, causing them not trusting themselves, because it's different for, like, there's, I always say there's three trust. One trust, trusting yourself. The
Yeah.
second trust is trusting others, and the third one is trusting the divine, basically. So when it's trusting the divine, is just, more communicating, more connecting, opening the third eye, sixth sense. With trusting others is a betrayer. It was a betrayer. That's why you don't trust others. So you need to do the healing about that betrayer situation. And then when it's trusting about you, is, I think, the guilt and shame what you carry and the failure. It can be, sometimes has to be done through healing as well, like
Yeah.
deep healing of those failures, basically.
Yeah. And it's hard because failure, these, when the failures that you're talking about, I assume are like of bigger nature. And when I think about, then we all become so afraid of failure because either, gosh, for a million reasons, right? If we fail to some, we're no longer safe, physically or emotionally. Or if we fail, women have just kind of been conditioned societally to be like, either you're perfect or you're a failure. And so like, and one of the big sort of karmic assignments for me when I started becoming an entrepreneur was to get really comfortable with failure in business. And, it sounds like such a big word, but every single day you're faced with decisions and it's like sometimes they're the right ones, sometimes they're not. And like you can still make the best of your decisions and just continue to try and do the best right thing. But it's also like failing fast is how you learn as an
Yeah,
entrepreneur.
absolutely. I don't believe in failures actually. So I never regret.
Awesome.
I never regret anything which I was done or chose, because I knew probably it was part of my journey, or it was part of my elevation, or had to go through that to be more humble, or had to go through that to be in the shoes of other people, or those kind of things. So it's basically getting more experience in life. So the whole life
Yeah.
is about experience. So I'm looking at all of these things which maybe could feel like others, like in others, like in the society or cultural expectations as a failure. It's still an experience, and I got richer by that experience. I'm sure I grew out of that much better than someone who never experienced that kind of failure. So because now I have that kind of example as well with me, and then how I got out of it, or whatever. So I think it's why we feeling certain negative emotions around this is because of the cultural expectations, and because of the society, like what is showing us in the programming, like in the social media or media, where what we see, and then, or what is the one which is more celebrated, and so on and so forth. So that's why we create, like, we compare each other, and then that's why we create things like guilt and shame about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the connection of failure to growth. It truly is like the quickest way of growth. And you're right. It's just, even just hearing you say that you don't believe in failure. It was all just part of your path. You had something to learn. Like that just makes me sigh a little bit of relief to be like, you're right. Like this is all just part of life. I love that.
Yeah, and then we come to life to experience. So we came here
Mhm.
with a blueprint, with our karmas, with all of those things which I have no idea, because only the higher self knows and the super conscious what's going on. But we just have to go through and we get the best out of it while we actually feeling good. So that's the most important thing is, as I always say, that shift your negative emotions into positive, because that's how you even manifest better, you to raising your vibration to joy and happiness. Always try to find joy and happiness in everything.
Yeah, gosh, what a gift. This has been absolutely fascinating. If people want to work with you, how can we find you?
So I have a website, editbkiss.com, and I
Okay.
have my social media links from there. So even the a YouTube channel they can find there on my website. So they can book a one-on-one call with me to to get to know each other. They can also join my school community. The school is skool.com. So they have like many communities there, and my community called Release with Ease. And if they join the school community, we have meditation library there, life transformation system course, workshops, live events with me on a weekly basis or on a bi-weekly basis. So they have the chance to, work with me there on a group sessions as well and ask me questions and experience all of those amazing modalities.
I love it. That's incredible. This has been so wonderful and so eye-opening. And I think it is a beautiful blend of sort of all of the energetic work as well as just really understanding all that exists within our body from like a physiological standpoint. This is truly like I'm going to be thinking about this all day. I know everyone, if you are out there, there are people who suffer from all sorts of big emotions. And I feel like we've hit on a lot of them and given really practical, tangible tips, as well as some really incredible thought provoking concepts. So if you could please share this episode, I think we can really help a lot of women spark some level of healing and peace, which, gosh, don't we all deserve? Edith, thank you so much for your time. This has been incredible. And thank you everyone for listening. And we'll catch you next time. Well, that's the end of this episode, but promise me, you won't stop here with whatever it is you're feeling or dreaming about. I hope you leave today feeling empowered to live life just as you see fit. If this podcast was helpful to you, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review on whatever platform you're listening on. I genuinely just want to help women live the life they dream about. So if this type of content tracks with you, subscribe to this podcast or visit our website, writeyourownstory.co, to download digital courses or to grab a journal and a mug to just dream in and dream with. It's your life, lady. Do you. And just remember, I'm rooting for you and you've totally got this.